All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with the wonderful, the incredibly creative. We all saw it. She can't lie about it anymore. Diana Fay, Diana of the Rose. Diana, how are you today?
Good, doing great. I'm having a great time. This is fun.
Nice, good. I'm glad. 'Cause I'm having a great time, but I'm in charge, so yeah, it feels right.
You have
Uh,
to, yeah.
I have to. But I genuinely am. If you didn't watch our D20 questions, go check it out. It was a real blast. We're gonna get creative in a second, but first, in case the folks haven't seen you all over the internet, where can they find Diana of the Rose?
Yeah, Diana the Rose is just that. It's everywhere. I am a Twitch partner. I usually do short form, so you can find me over on TikTok, shorts, reels, all of that. And then, of course, you can catch me at almost every single nerd convention that exists. So the next one coming up is going to be PAX Unplugged. I'm at Gen Con every year, things like that. If you see someone wandering around with red hair and, blonde money pieces and highlights, it's either me or you need to fight them on behalf of me. So that's what I'm
The
doing.
gauntlet has been thrown.
I'm
Ladies and
seeing
gentlemen,
it
you heard it here
so
first.
much recently. I've seen this hairstyle increasingly over the past couple of years, and honestly, I have the half thought to either go up and compliment the person or fist fight them. But the last time I saw someone with the exact hairstyle, same color and everything, was a TSA agent. So I decided to not
Ooh,
approach.
no, I get very nervous that they're not going to let me on the plane. Like my
Just,
wife is afraid of flying, and I'm afraid of
oh,
security. I think that's hers
oh,
is
so
more
you guys should
rational than
just,
mine.
yeah.
Well, we're a good team. If you get me to the gate, then like I got you the rest of the way. Like I love being in the air, but I'm just afraid someone's going to. I got pulled out of line once because I'm like
Really?
I don't know, especially if I'm been tanning, I'm like culturally ambiguous. And like I was switching flights in Germany, and they're just like, "You are coming to the room." I was like, "I don't even speak German. This is not going to end well."
Oh
But even
man.
before that, it's an anxiety thing, I think.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean it's terrifying. They make it so scary for no reason. Everyone's yelling at you to take your laptops out of your bags or leave them in bags depending on if you're at a
We
different
keep
regional
changing the rules, and
airport.
I know none of this matters anyway. My toothpaste isn't gonna do anything. Come on.
Exactly. If someone can take down a plane with a pair of tweezers, give them the plane. They earned it. But yeah.
We could solve a lot of these problems by just like building some trains. America, come on, let's go. Um, Okay, tangent. Do you feel like ownership over that hairstyle though? Because I did. I saw you on a recent stream for charity, ladies and gentlemen, because you are an animal lover. You like
Oh.
spray painted your hair black. Like you went for it. You were
Honestly, yeah, that was last night. I'm glad it washed out actually.
Oh, that was last night. Oh.
Mhm. It was like this little bit of like costume paint because I was cosplaying as my OC for my D&D game that I had at 1 a.m. last night actually. And so I had to prepare by getting into character. It was like our Halloween session, so everyone dressed up as their characters. My
Hmm.
character has black hair, so I had to like get rid of all of this with hope and a $10 can of temporary hair dye.
Well, yeah, and it worked. And you raised money because I said animal champion in the last one. I don't know what the technical term is. Are you a zoologist? You have a piece of paper that says you're good at zooing.
I do. I've got a bachelor's degree, graduated summa cum laude or whatever the fancy term is, and then I have
Ooh,
minors
she's
in
dropping Latin.
yeah, that's all I know. That and like ad lib, and that's maybe it. And then I've got minors in chemistry, psychology, and professional sales as well. So I'm stupidly overqualified for the fact that I'm a content creator, honestly. I should be utilizing this potential literally anywhere else for the greater good of the world, but instead I'm here doing charity streams for the greater good of the world and just letting people like the World Wildlife Fund, which is what we raised money for last night. I think it was over $1,600 by the end of the 2 hours that we were streaming, which was I don't know. My community is just great. I just told them that I care about animals, and they were like, "All right, bet. Let's help the animals." So
Awesome. Love it. Okay, hopefully we won't no animals are going to be hurt in the recording of this process, but we are going to light up the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. We're going to roll some dice and make some characters and do some world building, and I think it's going to be a blast. Let's go.
Yay. I wonder if I should have switched dice for the vibe.
I mean you can if you want to for luck or for
These ones have
aesthetics
been
or
doing okay, and my other dice are buried in what I call the nerd
Again,
box
there's
over
no
there.
bad here. The only one is going to be the D10 is the only thing that has like uh ascending value to a degree.
Oh.
But okay, so we are going to start with an archetype, which essentially is like a background. Do you have one in mind, or do we want to randomize the result here?
I kind of want to randomize it because there's
Sure.
some interesting options on here. Exile sounds really cool. I don't know what a barrister is, so we're not gonna we're gonna hope we're not gonna roll a
That's a
15
lawyer,
or
but
16.
old-timey and vaguely British.
Oh, well, let's see. 52.
52, an herbalist.
Oh, okay.
That was a response. That's not the, I don't know if that's like a companion to or the opposite of zoology.
I think
Um,
it's I mean, that's the thing, right? When it comes to character creation, those are the kinds of questions you can ask. Is do we want to do like a standard herbalist, or do we want to do someone who's an herbalist for the sake of maybe instead of like, cultivating potions and ingredients for potions and things like that, maybe they do poisons, or maybe they're just a really good weed killer and that requires a really strong knowledge of plants by necessity. And so you can kind of take the opposite stance of things like that.
you are going to be good at this. Roll all of the dice, please. I would like you to
All of
roll
them.
everything but a D100. You can do it one at a time if that like is easier spatially, but rolling them all at a time is much more fun.
Audience, this is the sound of me rolling them all at once.
Satisfying.
Okay. What are we starting with?
I'm going to ask you for the D20 first. This is our character's drive, dream, or aspiration.
Oh, this is great. I got an 8.
Got an 8. Study monster ecology and plants they use. Yeah, we had a
Amazing.
long talk about how monster ecology is a thing that you should care about at least a little bit when designing adventures and dungeons and environs. So yeah, what does that make you think of right away? That feels right.
I feel like God, it's kind of like when you go into do you remember in the Hunger Games there was this one scene, and I could be getting my sources wrong, so forgive me, audience, if you're still in there in your young adult phase. The
Hey
There was a
man, I'm still in
scene
my young
where
adult phase sometimes.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm here for it.
Oh, okay, I thought you were casting stones over there.
Oh goodness, no. I honestly, God, I remember when the Hunger Games first came out, and there was like a 3-month wait list for those books. Every time a new sequel came out, I feel like that was the golden age of being in high school, is like that. And they just came out with sorry, I'm getting totally off topic.
That's kind of
Um,
the that's part of the show too. Don't worry.
Anyway, there was this old Hunger Games scene where Katniss is like, I believe, witnessing creatures in their Thunderdome, I forget what it's called, eating berries and fruits and things like that. And all of the animals avoided a specific berry, even though it was
Hmm.
there ripe for the picking. And from that, she learned that they were probably poisonous. Again, maybe I'm mixing up my sources and it's actually a completely different IP. If that's the case, please don't come for me. But thinking about like studying what monsters use different plants for and then utilizing that to your own purposes sounds like almost like early science if you're in a medieval fantasy setting. It's one of those things where it's like society's got to start somewhere. We got to figure out what to eat somehow. Maybe some creature out there has figured out a way to neutralize the poison in a certain type of seed by mixing it with something else, and then it becomes edible. It's the concept of what you could potentially learn or have learned that is super cool to me.
I love it. It's a great reason to be an adventurer. Out of
Yeah.
the gate. That's a good motivation. If someone walked up with a character like that, like, I want to see what monsters are doing with plants, it's like, okay, I know what to prep now.
Yeah.
All right, roll a D12. This is gonna be our catalyst, our call to adventure. Why are we adventuring?
I got an 11 for that one. So that
11.
says
Sentient plant life asking for help.
interesting. Okay. So if we mix that with the concept of studying how animals use plants or monsters use plants, maybe it's a sentient type of plant that's slowly going extinct due to the some encroaching invasive species that's like new to the area has discovered this type of plant that's particularly delicious, or that they absolutely can't stand for some reason and have been destroying, and the plant asks for help. Another thing could be like maybe the plant needs a certain monster's help in order to spread. In much the same way that like when birds eat fruit, they ingest the seeds and then they poop out the seeds somewhere on like, a different side of the county or whatever. And so certain types of plants will have uh, animals be a very necessary part of their transmission of spreading their seeds and, reproducing. Maybe that animal has gone extinct and the plants are the only ones who like realize it or see it coming on the horizon, and they're asking this adventure to help the animals, which then by proxy helps the sentient plants society. Um, that's just where my mind goes. That was a whole
And I
tangent.
love it. I'm getting these flashes of like, well, they're monsters. We should kill them. It's like, well, yeah, but if we get rid of all the giant sloths, then we're not going to have guacamole anymore. So like we should like what's going to spread these avocados if not these giant megafauna that you're killing off because yeah, they eat your crops. And
Mhm.
maybe, yeah, I'm getting a lot of like order chaos, that classic like, civilization versus so I'm getting real druid vibes, but I guess that comes immediately with an herbalist anyway.
Yeah, and then by nature, druids and like most of nature itself is neutral, so it provides a good stage for like a morally gray situation where there is no objectively good side, which is my favorite type of plot hook.
Yeah, just a circle of life, baby. Everything's got to eat something.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we could stop right now, but the D8 is going to give me potential growth or character arc. So this is the one I always caveat.
Ooh.
We want to like let this develop over time during play. I don't want to walk in knowing exactly like how my character is going to evolve. But if I have like a baseline idea, I can kind of lean one way and look for opportunities to grow in another direction. So what do we get for a D8?
I got a 7 for that one.
7. Remedying the self in ways plants can't touch.
Hmm. My immediate first thought is like someone trying to find a cure for something, and that is their initial motivation for becoming an herbalist. They maybe had loss of limb or a family member's afflicted by something that doesn't have a cure, and they're like, well, it's impossible for it to not have a cure. There's got to be something, and so they start frantically looking at the plant world for that, but in a way that seems almost a little too obvious, especially if you're coming into it as a character and you already know off the bat above the table that plants can't help you. Maybe, hmm, maybe it's a moral dilemma, something that's like you know it's an issue with yourself based off of the way people react to your choices in certain scenarios or things like that. Maybe it's just straight up you have a moral alignment if you use alignments that is out of whack with the way the rest of your society is, and like you don't plants can't help you, but you immerse yourself in the plant world and the natural world as a means of having an excuse to step away from society and just kind of be yourself. And then you have to question whether or not it's something you actually have to fix. Is it something that you really need to change about yourself,
Hmm.
or are you just in the wrong environment? And then that calls into, then you could go down a whole metaphorical rabbit hole of being in the wrong environment and drawing analogies to the plants that you study and things like that. That is a lot. There's a lot there.
That's thematic. That's thematically rich ground. I like it. Reasons I want a place you can't touch. Yeah, I like the idea of like, plants are going to cure a lot of things, but maybe not your relationships, especially if you spend a lot of time talking to plants and studying monsters and what they eat. Maybe your interpersonal communication is a little underdeveloped, let's say.
Hmm.
Um,
For more mature games too, you could go with the concept of self-medication with like a something that you've discovered that helps, but not in the long run, or it has side effects that make things even worse.
that's where I went immediately of like there's like plant medicine and like psychedelics and there's like the medicine is in the dosage and yeah, we're spending a little too much time with our plants.
Right?
We have an unhealthy relationship now.
This is cool. I might make this character. This is sick.
You're welcome to it. Take it with my blessing. All right, a D4. Now we're starting to build some ties to the world around us. So this is a friendly faction. NPCs, maybe we're part of them, maybe we just have a good relationship with them.
Okay, I got a 2 for this. So the
You got a
Viridian
2. Ooh, I might
Guard.
give you the 3 as well. You might get a 2 for here. But the
Ooh.
Viridian Guard, loose affiliation of rangers and druids who protect the edges of wild places.
Hmm. Okay, I would say that this would be. Ooh, I mean that one's kind of self-explanatory. I will say it's like you can't do anything in the border between civilization and nature without running into these guys, I imagine. And so maybe they're your lead source of news within the city, especially if you live on the outskirts, you're kind of one of those outlander type folks who doesn't really go into this the city all that much unless you need to do business. And before you do so, you check in with these people and you're like, hey, what's going on? Like, who should I avoid? How's the economy going? You know, maybe they're kind of like your notice board.
I love that reversal of like this is your link to society. This isn't like the barrier between you and nature. This you're already way on the other side of this edge. So you go to these guys, these like whatever, the wardens of the wilds, and being like, what what's the economy like in town? Or like what's
Yeah.
playing down at the local tavern?
Mhm.
Um, but I got so and it does feel a little vanilla. Some of them do because I'm trying to make this work for everybody all of the time. But I got to give you three. I got to give you the Rose Apothecaries.
It's in
Um,
the name. You have to.
I got to. Chain of merchants selling home goods, toiletries, and potions. Oh, it's a yes. It's also it's a Schitt's Creek reference as well. But tell me
Excellent.
about the Rose. What is the Rose? Where's the it's a fantastic name. It's very like I almost feel like I'm missing the reference. Where did you get Diana of the Rose?
You know, I get asked this all the time. I think the first ever interview I ever did was someone mostly asking me this question. To be perfectly frank, there is no real source. I
Yep.
did grow up in Portland, Oregon, which is like the Rose City. They've got roses as their main symbol, and they've got the International Rose Test Garden, which I go to all the time, and things like that. But like, I don't know. They're okay. They're not even my favorite flower. I was like, oh, it's a cute name. And then it
It's a
stuck.
good name. It's a good. That's how you know you're onto something. Where it's just like, oh man, I feel like I heard this before. Like, where did I? What is this from? Like, that's how you know you're onto something. It's a good name.
Yeah, and it's like it's distinct enough. Honestly, even the name Diana in this space is distinct enough. I was telling my friends the other day, I'm glad that there's no other Dianas in this space. Like as soon as you hear my name in the TTRPG realm, people are like, "Oh, Diana the Rose." So it's been quite nice.
It's Diana the Rose or Diana Ross. I'm not. It's one of those.
Yeah.
All right, chain of merchants selling home goods. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the it's Schitt's Creek too. Perfect. Okay, give me D6. That's gonna be a friendly NPC.
Ooh, I got a 4 for that one.
Four. Peppers Rin, spice merchant indebted to character for providing a heartburn cure. That's cute.
Interesting.
I feel
Okay,
like
and this
maybe
is an
Peppers
ally.
works at Rose Apothecary. Maybe that's the twofer.
Yeah, something along the lines of I'm imagining still like this kind of morally gray character or a character who just isn't really beholden to society's rules as much. So maybe that they're supplying these apothecaries and these potion makers and things like that, but it's kind of under the table. And maybe this person, Peppers, also has her own secret. So like she's indebted to, or they're indebted to my character for providing the cure, but at the same time it's kind of tenuous. Like we can't turn each other in. It's kind of a mutually assured destruction sort of thing. Um, and maybe they need to keep coming back for the cure. And maybe my character is like slowly raising prices or something like that over time.
Mm.
So they're indebted to me because they need it, but at the same time, like it's getting worse and worse for them to continue acquiring it, but they can't really do anything about it. Because I like the concept of allies, but I don't like the concept of someone who's just unquestioningly good to you for no real reason.
Mm.
I always like it when there's like a sort of, like I said, mutually assured destruction type reason for it, or something that's like, oh, this is not entirely wholesome. Like this person might actually secretly hate me, but what are they going to do about it now? I think it sows the seeds, especially for the DM side of things, for for potential, issues or tumult later on.
I think we maybe just crossed the boundary to like, okay, we're a drug dealer. Uh,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
and I'm here for it. No problem there. Okay, so like I was saying, the D10 is the only one where high number better. But what do we get on the D10?
Okay. D10 is an 8.
Eight. The Crown of Flora. When attuned, the wearer can speak with plants once per day. I mean, that ties in nicely with the plants asking for help earlier.
Yeah, that's wonderful, actually. That actually just kind of puts a bow on it, really. There's not a whole lot more that has to be said. I would question how this character came across the Crown of Flora, maybe.
Mm.
Maybe they completed some quest for the Viridian Guard and just found it and decided to keep it or got it as a reward or something like that. You know, maybe they looted the body of another guard member while they were pursuing some lead that the guard themselves couldn't continue pursuing. And they found like, a lost patrol and someone had the crown on them and they just like decided to pick it up and keep it before turning in the information to the rest of the guard about what had happened to them. Um, Little things like that could be interesting. I always try and make sure that I give advice that when someone enters a campaign and they have a magic item or something that's special to them, they should answer what their relationship to it is, who knows that they have it, and then also how they got it. Um, just to like, stir up the role play a little bit.
Yeah, the idea that it's like illicit, like
Mhm.
much else about us. Like if the wrong person, if they see you wearing this thing, like someone's gonna have some questions to ask. So like maybe like we put our hair over it or something.
Yeah.
Like it's or we only take it out when we're gonna use it. It
Hmm.
does require attunement though. Mm-mm-mm.
Oh shit,
Um,
that's a good point. Hmm.
yeah, maybe it's like an armband or something. Okay, cool. Do you want to add anything on the player character side of this before we switch hats over to the game master side of the equation?
Oh, I don't think so. Honestly, I feel like having peppers from the assets and allies table would be kind of like potentially an enemy down the road is a really good hook. If we didn't have that, then I would say having an enemy that we would build in would be
Oh, it's
something
coming. That's
also.
that's the game master's job.
Oh, is that the game? Oh
Oh
man.
yeah,
Okay. In that case, first side. Let's kick off. Let's go to that
yeah.
side.
And like Druid, final answer. Do we want to like drill down into like
Oh.
subclass or anything, or you're feeling?
I would go. I feel like Druid's the easy answer. And when it comes to improv, you don't always want to go with the first thing that you choose, especially when it comes to character creation. The first thing that comes to mind is a little bit basic. Maybe I would go
Spice it
Oath
up. What do you
of
got?
the Ancients Paladin, maybe, or
Oh, I
like,
like underrepresented subclass.
yeah.
I really like. I really like that.
Hmm. I also love the idea of just choosing class after you go with your backstory and things like that, and kind of as opposed to the other way around.
Yes.
So that's what I would go with.
And it does suit the sort of like single-mindedness of it all, right? Like we're following a different code, but
Yeah,
we have an idea of what's right or wrong. I like
exactly.
or and it's we don't care what other people think is right and wrong. We don't even think in those terms, but it's like being like militantly neutral is always
Yeah,
a very
exactly.
interesting position to adopt.
Yeah, and it's not something people do very often when it comes to paladins. Like, so I would love to see that personally.
And it can kind of like circumvent some of the it's kind of memey. I haven't seen them a lot, but like the vanilla problems of like a paladin being like lawful stupid or whatever, like
Yeah.
yeah, Oath of Agents is like circle of life, baby. Cut his head off. Let's go. Keep it moving.
Yeah. A
Let's
druid
get
go.
now he's fertilizer. Okay, so we're gonna flip the page here. Depending on how you run your tables, this could be part of character creation as well. But this is on a separate page because maybe some dungeon masters don't want their players to know about this side of the equation until they find out the hard way. So the first, we're gonna roll a d6, and that's gonna
Okay.
give us an antagonistic organization, a faction that does not like us so much.
I got a one.
One, log and plank lumber company that uses extremely damaging clear cutting techniques.
Oh, okay. My first thought goes to like the hack and slash techniques where they would kind of clear out all the underbrush surrounding the trees that they're targeting. And maybe the trees that they're targeting are pretty few and far between. But in order to get to them more easily, to chase out any creatures that might be making their home in the nearby area that would pose a threat to the loggers, they just full on like make a circle of fuel and just burn their way through it. Just for easy access, kind of like kind of like a very direct metaphor for deforestation, but ye old deforestation. And maybe that would be a potential contributor to the problem that the sentient plants are having. Maybe not necessarily that the plants are calling out for help because the humans or humanoids are the problem, but maybe the humanoids clearing out the native territory of that creature that we talked about
Hmm.
earlier and forcing them into a new area is causing problems for those plants. So there's like that kind of those downstream effects, those rippling effects of, that the company that Log and Plank might not be aware of at first, even. Um,
That's kind of one of my go-to moves to the point where like I've tried to like hold back from doing it now in my adventure design, but there's always like the orcs are here, they're causing problems. You solve those problems, and then like, why are the orcs here? Well, they because something much worse was going on upstream that pushed them out of their territory, and now they're the invasive species. But like, yeah, why is this monster that's eating all of these plants? Why is it here now? Maybe these guys.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, D6 for a rival or enemy.
Oh
Maybe
man.
this is someone who stole our lunch money when we were a kid. Maybe this is the BBEG or anything
I
in
got a
between.
3.
Lorelei Foxglove, spoiled teen who demands a love potion, not used to hearing no.
Oh man. I love this concept. Mostly because the fact that it's a teenager means you can't just like murder hobo it. I mean, you
Yes.
can, but like it's a paladin. An Oath of Ancients paladin is probably not likely to do that. Um, that is interesting. It also seems pretty self-explanatory. Seems like someone who might start like following around the player character in an attempt to try and learn enough about what they know as an herbalist to do it themselves if they won't help. Maybe they become kind of like a roguish variant of an herbalist along the same lines, just trying to get something done, really, and taking matters into their own hands, even though it ends up being dangerous for them. So maybe you end up having to save Lorelai from some sort of dangerous scenario that they've gotten themselves in that they don't know how to handle after trying to copy you for so long.
Just like leaning into the misery of an escort quest where it's just like,
Yeah. Oh
this
God,
NPC
yeah.
probably shouldn't die. Also, they suck and you hate them. Like,
Mm-hmm. 100%.
they're a liability and they followed you into this dangerous place now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, D6 for a an evocative location.
Ooh, evocative. Okay. Another 3.
Another three. The giant's jungle. Magic causes the plant life here and the creatures that eat it to grow huge.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Especially if it's magic causing it, then you can use your crown of flora to see how the plants actually feel about it. Maybe it's something where the plants, you would think that they would want massive growth, and that seems like it might be a positive thing, but maybe the process of that happening is incredibly like painful and like
Mm.
supernatural. It's like, growth pains, but magically supercharged, and like the end result might be fine, but the plants hate it in the meantime. They hate the fact that the creatures that eat them are also huge. Um, it's it's an interesting thing that could work with the crown really well.
I love that. And I still have that D 10,000 wild magic table in mind from last conversation. I was just like,
Yeah,
there's a place I could sure like here. Okay, you eat that berry? Cool. Roll a D 10,000. Let's see what happens now.
that'd be so sick. And then also like integrations with anyone who has magical capabilities in the party. Maybe someone is a worshiper of Mistra or some such thing, and then you're like, maybe that could be a potential seed of conflict if they believe that this area should stay at least long enough to be studied or something like that. And you, as the player character who's the herbalist, is like, no, this is incredibly unnatural. We need to stop this. It could cause some inter-party conflict. There's a lot of directions you can take with that.
Yeah, and that's the next level of this. And it's funny, I actually find the locations are like the easiest way to like connect different characters, cork boards. But in
Yeah.
theory, you're doing this 3 or 4 times. Connections are going to start to form between the characters as well to get, you know, things lining up, but also things conflicting and crossing. And
Mhm.
yeah, I always like competing agendas. And okay, you guys figure out how you want to solve this problem because it's not just simply, okay, you killed all of the things, good job. It's like, well, you
Mhm.
want one version of this outcome and you want another version of this outcome. You tell me what you do now.
Yep. That's when you get to sit back as DM and just like shovel down food while they have arguments in game and things like that. It's so much fun.
It's something I've been practicing more and more of like doing less lately, like letting those arguments happen for long enough. And I will legit one my Tuesday night game is in a game shop and they just often opened up a coffee shop. So I will legit like I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee. I'm gonna go get a chai. You guys talk about this for 15 minutes. You have time
That
to,
sounds
to
so much
plot.
fun, honestly. I need to hang out at my local game store too. It's Oregon, so they have like 17 types of beer on tap. There's like IPAs and ciders and things like that. Then they have teas and whatnot, and everyone's so I really need to be more of a I need to leave my apartment, basically. I live in a small town. It's not it's not like it's hard to wander around and go to cool places like that. That
Do
sounds
you have
fun.
a game shop with beer that you can go
Yeah.
to close by?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, dude.
so I'm very public about where I live. I live in Bend, Oregon.
Hmm.
Small town. There's a shop called Modern Games here, and I think they know who I am. But everyone there is incredibly nice. So you can just plop down on a random Saturday, play from their board game library, go there with friends, it's cool.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm in Pittsburgh, and the Pennsylvania's got weird alcohol laws. I don't know. It's
Really?
but so we're not well, we're occasionally drinking. It's BYOB. Let's put it that way. But yeah, he just opened up a coffee shop, and it's just like that's so good. But now it's just like my cupcake intake has increased because like every
Oh
week it's like, well, I guess
man,
I'll try. What's that giant cookie? Yes, please.
that sounds so
Um,
good.
yeah, it's a good problem. Uh, okay. D6 is going to
All
give us a
right.
thematic monster,
A one.
a one,
I need to get rid of this D6.
a
Goodness.
fang flower, beautiful
Okay.
carnivorous plant with a nearly irresistible scent.
Interesting. So to me, this brings to mind the concept of general neutrality when it comes to nature. This happens in real life. We have carnivorous plants, we have carnivorous animals, we have the concept of, you know, creatures that would predate on humans, you know, if they could, and things like that. And we automatically assign this morality to them.
Mm,
We think that like sharks are bad or evil, or something that hunts down other creatures, like creatures that we use as pets, for example, are evil. We think that wolves in the nearby, you know, forested areas that take down our sheep are evil, and it's like, no, not really. They're just
It's,
existing.
it's
So
essentially like that's like the origin of the idea of monsters, essentially. Like
yeah, and they're
maybe
just
maybe
existing.
Neanderthals, maybe we remember back long enough so that they were like hominids around, but like mostly it was just like there's a thing, it's got teeth and it'll eat you. We don't have a lot
Mhm.
of details because most of the people who saw it have been eaten.
Right. And so like maybe there's a bunch of fantastical stories told about this type of plant, and that same sort of like twisted word of mouth type knowledge that really only people of the level of you know, of the level of herbalists, that is that character that we created earlier, would know the truth in that, you know, it's way more rare than you'd think. It's like the equivalent of learning about quicksand as a child. Like you grow up hearing stories about it and you think it's everywhere. And it's like, no, there's like three of these fang flowers on the continent. They're actually kind of an endangered species. And then if you were to use the crown to actually talk to this flower, it might have something to say that's along the lines of like, oh, you know, something to defend itself essentially. It would think that the concept of it being carnivorous, you know, as a thing would be a surprise to it. It would just be like, what do you mean? I thought every plant was like this. Like this is just normal to me.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's some initial thoughts. Those are kind of like free floating ideas.
That's the game, and you're very good at it. You like, yeah, you take things in interesting directions, and like this feels like, is this the thing from the very beginning? Like this sent us on our quest. Like
Mhm.
I don't know, some like little maybe they're air plants, right? Maybe one just like floated in through the window one day or something. But like this fang flowers, like save us. These guys are eating us,
Yeah.
or whatever. They're not eating us anymore because the loggers drove them out. Whatever. Our ecology has been disturbed, and
Hmm.
we are very misunderstood. And shit.
Exactly.
Okay, a nearly irresistible scent. One feels like, all right, make a save or your move as close, like dash towards this thing as fast as you can. But that
Mhm.
also feels like a pretty decent ingredient, reagent for creating a love
You're
potion,
right. You're
right?
so right. Oh, full circle. That's so good. That's such a good idea.
I like it. Okay, so sometimes this is disappointing because the D20 is the swingiest of the dice.
Oh yeah.
So I always when you're done, you can be done. But this isn't just like a session zero tool. You can keep coming back to this, and you can never have enough plot hooks, really. So they just start going in a different direction. Okay, yeah, we'll make something up. So give me a D20. And this might be a
Okay.
departure. This might wrap it all up in a nice little bow.
It's a lot of pressure. All right. 7.
Seven. I built the thing. You don't. You're not on the hook here. The flood displaced several groups, and now they vie for the once desert that's bursting into bloom. Man,
Okay.
that's a lot going on in a sentence, right? The flood displaced several groups, and now they vie for the once desert that's bursting into bloom.
Okay, so that makes it sound like this is a whatever conflict is happening over a larger, you know, area than just your typical like, oh, this village is under attack. It's like, nope, the northern half of this continent is having massive shifts right now, and you as an adventurer are tossed into the middle of it. The concept of a ecological succession comes to mind, you know, where all of a sudden floodlands in a nearby area are churning up old nutrients and depositing them in new places, which it wouldn't be unheard of for a desert to turn into a fully blooming area. It brings into question about the lumber company, the log and plank, and to see like maybe that's why they're moving into a new area is to kind of like fuel all these brand new rebuilding efforts, kind of like to help
Hmm.
solve some sort of housing crisis that's happening. And so it's like genuinely this displacement is kind of like leading towards this necessary evil of all these lumberjacks coming into this area, but their methods are all wrong, and that's what's causing the issues with all the plants. It does put a really nice bow on it, honestly.
We just caught you trying to fix the economy of D&D again.
I know.
See, I went the other way. I thought like, okay, we clear cut the land. The this was the watershed. Now the drainage basin is all shot, and now it's just like
Yeah.
landslides. And I don't know, the levee broke, the dam gave out, like something like that. Like this isn't because I don't know. That's every ecological disaster, some man-made horror in my mind.
Yep. Oh
Um,
yeah. That's definitely like that's kind of like the going the other direction almost. Um, that's cool as hell. You could really take either approach. It's like that's a good prompt. It is a lot happening and it is like regional scale stuff, so it does mean like almost by necessity you'd have to plan as a DM on a wider scale.
it
But
was like it zoomed out in with that one. It's just
yeah.
like, okay, this is a grand design here.
Hmm.
Um, okay, awesome. That was a lot of fun. Anything you want to add? I don't know if we need more, but
Oh no, this is fantastic. It like I'm glad we got Herbalist. It goes right into like the every little bit of like zoological stuff that I learned when I was in college, all this ecology type stuff, because it's all connected, and it was a lot easier to connect the threads than I thought it would be. And even then, just like improvising, it's interesting. I don't usually improvise sober, but here I am doing it without even realizing.
well, I'm happy to enable you. Is that, I don't know if that's
I think so,
maybe the
I
opposite.
guess. Uh, my therapist will thank you down the road, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll split your copay. All right, I'm gonna go back to the big screen.
Cool.
Ba-na-na-na. Yeah, that was a blast. I really enjoy watching like people like one form the connections and like take imaginative leaps that I wouldn't, but also like the fact that you brought all that base knowledge to it. It was super cool experience.
It feels
Um,
rooted in reality, and that's what I love.
yeah, that's what we set out to do. So good job. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Again,
It's a cool
thank
compendium.
you so much for spending your time with me. I had a lot of fun. Tell the folks what's coming up. What's the next big thing down the road, even if it's just like a pipe dream right now. What's next for Diana?
Oh man, oh God. My big thing right now is figuring out what you do, YouTube. So hopefully I'll be able to do more long form stuff down the road, just in general, especially with the new books coming out. I'm hoping to put out a lot more information on them. Hopefully some more tips and tricks to inspire DMs and get people into DMing for the first time, or just playing either one. I'm not picky. As far as like actual events and things like that are set in stone and on the calendar, the next big one is PAX Unplugged, which I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, the end of the last episode, but if you see me, come say hello. I will be there all 3 days, and then also I think like one day on either end of the convention as well, because that's just standard for content creators. But yeah, beyond that, I'm just at Diane of the Rose absolutely everywhere.
Awesome. Links down below. Like and subscribe everywhere, but especially YouTube. I mean, you're on YouTube. You want to make like longer stuff. You don't want to get because like you're doing shorts and you're doing streams. It's like I got 30 seconds or I got three and a half
No in
hours in me.
between.
No in betweens.
I just don't like editing down stuff like that as much. It takes
Uh,
so much more time. And so with shorts, I can just like live edit, pick up my phone, start and stop recording whenever. And then for like long form, it's like hours worth of it. I'm just not good at it yet. I need to practice, that's all. Um,
Editing is my least favorite thing. So I script most of my stuff, and that has helped. One, that just makes a better product for me, and two, that
mhm.
helps on the editing side too, because I already know what I'm trying to achieve. It makes it instead of like, oh, I said that cleverly and I said that like throwing spaghetti at the wall and then you have to go collect the spaghetti is not fun.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because that's like the method that works on TikTok is just throwing spaghetti at a wall. On YouTube, it's just such a different beast. The
Yeah.
like, God, we could go on about social media and social media platforms for forever because it's the Wild West out here and no one teaches you what to do. But
Well, we're all making it up. I am happy to help you in any way I can.
oh,
The
thanks.
best way of doing that is probably to introduce you to people who are better at it than I am. But I don't think you need my help. You said your mind to it, you're gonna be just fine. Don't worry. I'll come to you for advice in a little
Oh,
bit.
oh man. I'll do my best.
Appreciate it. Everybody at home, thank you for watching. Check out Diana. I don't even have to convince you to do that. I know you're gonna do
Oh.
that. Until next time, be kind, have fun. Bye.